What's happening, so fam? It is Tarot Tuesday. You already know what time it is. Don't worry if the timestamp is a year from now or whatever. If you got drawn to this video, you already know what time it is, okay? Doesn't matter how far into the future you are from this current video. It's in alignment with certain energies. Even if the Mercury retrograde isn't happening, pay attention to what it is. You got 3 decks that you're going to pick from. This deck is going to be more so about like your self-empowerment. This deck is going to be more so about shifting, and this deck is going to be more so about claiming your power. Now, you need to be honest with yourself. If you're still in a shifting stage, you want to pick the shifting one. You don't want to pick what you want or what seems to be, you know, the best possible scenario, right? Be honest, pick up the energy. If you need to pause this video for a minute, just so you can take a deep breath and then see which one of these aligns most with you, go ahead and do that. And then I want you to fast forward to the timestamp in the descriptions below so you can just watch that particular read that's in alignment with you. I highly recommend not picking any more than just 2 of these decks. If you absolutely have to, I would say pick 1 just so you can understand the main vibration that you need to be existing in. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, share. Thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting and letting me know everything that you're going through. And if you're looking for one-on-one coaching, check out the links in the description below so you can go ahead and work with me personally. You can join my shamanic school where we teach you all about magic, all about manifestation, all about energy work, and how to become a boss so you can change the world, okay? So let's get into it. All right, so if you ended up picking up this deck, let's see what you are in alignment with. Now, this deck had a lot of like Mars, Mercury, and Saturn energy. Saturn meaning that there's a shadow that's coming up that needs to be dealt with. Mercury meaning that there's communication with that shadow that needs to be done. And then Mars saying that you need to shift out of that shadow. So let's go ahead and start off with the baseline foundations, which is Jupiter. Okay, Jupiter has to do with finance. Remember that. When it comes to finance, the energy of the Hermit comes up with Jupiter, which is essentially telling you, like, right now, if you're trying to make some crushing goals when it comes to making more money and stuff like that, like, it's going to be put on a little bit of a hold. That's not saying that you're going pro, that's not saying that, you know, things are bad. It's just like, that's on pause right now. That's not the most important thing that you need to be focusing on right now. What you need to be focusing on is the rest of this stuff. So if right now you're seeing like a decline in your business, or you're seeing that you're not making as much money, or some bills are coming up or something like that, the best thing you can do right now is not spend money on things that you do not need, okay? So do not spend money on things you don't need. And that can be as much as getting rid of a coffee, or, you know, if you have a subscription service to, I don't know, like random ass crystals or something like that, get rid of that for just a little bit. You can come back to it a little bit later. If it's not like really boosting your spiritual development, this is where you need to be paying attention to. Now, when we go over to Earth comes out with the 5 of Pentacles. Now, the 5 of Pentacles has to do with finances still. It has to do with worry about finances. Now, these 2 cards are the only singular cards that exist here right now in this reading. Now, what Earth and Jupiter are trying to tell you is that because you're not open to material abundance at this current time, it's not something to be worried about particularly, is to recognize that you are just on a pause, okay? I know the foundations in your Earth sector might seem very solid, scary even, like how am I going to pay for my bills? How much time do I have with my savings before things really hit the fan? This is not the main objective of what's happening for you right now. If you're giving your energy into trying to solve this problem, you're going to be giving your energy directly to your shadow, which is going to cause you a lot of issues. Now, let's see what your shadow is actually trying to shift out of reality for you. The first card comes out is the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is reminding you that you are somebody who is generous. You have a lot in your life already, even if you cannot see that directly. Now, one of the things that I've most recently have heard one of my friends say was we have visible assets and invisible assets. Visible assets are like the car, the house, the money, you know, whatever it is that you materially want to exist in. And then we have invisible assets, which are like health and peace of mind, and the fact that you are loved by people who really want to be around you and stuff like that. Right now is about looking at the generosity of the invisible assets that you are actually carrying right now. So if you have an overabundance of happiness in your life, even though you're not crushing a ton of your money goals right now, how about you share that happiness with other people by helping other people find their happiness, or just staying in that high vibration of happiness for whoever wants to come through. Your invisible assets right now are the main treasures that are going to be carrying you over into the future, but you have to first be aware that the material illusion here, the material struggle, is what's trying to keep you preoccupied from actually looking at this main lesson that you're going through. We have the King of Wands that comes up with the Queen of Cups in the shadow. So the King of Wands is saying that, like, you have this ability to really create an energy that makes you feel empowered. You just have to stay sitting in that energy. So if you keep creating this mantra, everything's okay, everything's going to work out, I'm going to see everything turn out exactly the way I want it to turn out. It's just a matter of time. If it doesn't happen immediately, that's okay. It's still going to happen. If you stay in that mindset that, like, okay, we have our ups and downs, we have some sort of struggle, but ultimately my end manifestation is locked into place. It's going to happen no matter what it is that I do. You're going to see yourself skyrocket past some of the illusions that are happening right now. Now, this is just a test. This money aspect is just a test, just to see whether or not you are really valuing the things that are happening to you. Right now, I know people, actually, I know millionaires that have lost half of their assets right now because of the stock markets and, you know, crypto and stuff like that. And, you know, it's kind of scary for them even to see that. So, like, you're not the only person that's going through it, right? Even high performance people are going through this shift right now of seeing, okay, you have all this material wealth, or you have material objects, but is that really the main point of this reality? Because materialism is ultimately the end goal of the entire illusion, to keep you swallowed in. Finally, we have the King of Swords. The King of Swords is saying, like, hey, you're going to stay in your power. Your shadow needs right now a little bit of dedication, a little bit of cultivation, a little bit of love. It needs to be taught that right now it can stay in its power no matter what is going on in our reality. Things may seem really weird, but you need to maintain your balance during this time by saying, I am powerful, I'm good. Right now, your subconscious is going through a massive rewriting, a massive shifting. And this is happening for a bunch of people. It's not just happening at a baseline level just for you. It's happening for the whole entire globe and planet. You are part of the ascension shift. When you choose to hold yourself accountable and you're like, okay, I'm gonna remain in my power, I'm going to keep cultivating my power, that's what's going to help the whole entire planet shift. Now, Mother Earth is part of your body. So one of the things you need to understand is, like, if Mother Earth is shifting into a radically new direction, the wisest thing that you can do is shift with her. You do not want to be caught in an old reality that isn't vibrating at your highest potential. So how do we do that? How do we bring that forward? One of the main things you must absolutely understand is that if you don't love it, it's gotta go, okay? If you notice that you smoke weed every day and it's making you, like, you have goals that you wanna crush, but you can't do it because the weed has made you super tired, it's time to go, because you're not loving yourself with that constant smoking of weed, right? If you notice that you're in a relationship with somebody who is just like, oh God, like, constantly you're showing me one face and then another face and then another face, you don't love that, let it go. Part of this is really understanding that you need to surrender to even your own fears. Oftentimes when you choose love, especially loving yourself and your creations and your reality, that's going to be super fucking scary. And it's going to feel like, oh no, I shouldn't do this because what if this, what if that? The unknown is your best friend right now. The unknown is waiting to cash you out if you choose to be cashed out, okay? So you really have to put yourself in this position of self-recognition and recognizing, hey, I love myself. Even if it's scary, I'm going to make the shift. Now, coming over to Venus, okay, is the next cards that I'm looking for. Venus has the 9 of Wands, which is saying, like, okay, at a heart-based level, this is something that's difficult for some people, right? Like, it can be scary. It's kind of like a mind fuck. But if you choose to just grab that mind fuck and caress it while you keep moving forward, one step at a time, it's gonna feel great. It's gonna feel more in alignment. The Ace of Pentacles energy is coming out for you. Now, this is a very demonic kind of energy right now. With another reading that I did earlier this week for myself, I was more so looking at the cosmos, and the Ace of Pentacles was showing up in a demonology reading. So there are cosmic angels and cosmic demons that take over reality every once in a while. And a lot of people confuse them as like positive and negative, but really it's just like showing us our own nature. That's what demons are. They're messengers of our own nature, especially angels as well. So right now we're being taught to be the most wealthiest version of ourselves and to really start embodying the wealth that we carry inherently. That's not always going to be material wealth. That's going to be the fact that you know a lot about a specific structure. And then like if you know a lot about that structure, you need to be turning that into some sort of wealth by sharing it with people. The main message right now is about empowering yourself by empowering others, and you're going to figure it out every step of the way. We're going to come to Mars. Mars is the lover of Venus, and basically we have the energy of the Empress. Empress is the energy of Venus as well. So here she's telling you double. She's like, the movement that you need to make is the movement that is the scariest one of all, okay? Your highest results lie in the direction that you do not actually want to go in. So if you've been thinking, okay, you know what? I got to stop doing healings, you know, and you're like, oh, but healing is where a lot of my income comes from, but you're being told to walk away from the healing. No matter how scary that is, because it doesn't really make sense how everything else is going to play out for you, you still got to go in that direction. Or you don't, right? Like, this is ultimately free will. This is your reality. If you want the highest results possible and you picked out this deck, it's all about moving in that direction. You need to look at your fear, look at the fact that you don't want to really make those moves, and make those moves anyway, because that's where your highest potential and your highest reality is going to lie in. Right now we're dealing with, again, our shadow. We're looking at staying in our own power. Being in your own power is making the uncomfortable moves. Being in a place of recognizing that you know everything's going to work out with you, if you stay in that kind of like mindset, is part of the shadow work. The world will change. The world will give you exactly what you're looking for if you pay attention to the scariest thing that's happening. The Knight of Pentacles reminds you, don't do this too quickly. Just because you got this message doesn't mean like, oh my God, tomorrow you have to quit your job and close your shop and do all that. You want to do things incrementally. You're still working in time and space. So that means that you need to make some decisions that are really valuable to you by taking the steps that are necessary for your own reality. The only way you're going to be able to do that is by doing it one step at a time, okay? So you can start limiting your calendar. You can start really limiting a couple of your other things that are going on in your reality, so you can really start focusing on the things that you really, really love, okay? So really be in that energy. Coming over to Mercury. Mercury is in retrograde right now, and also Mercury is dealing with a lot of that energy that comes with Virgo, which is harvest energy. Mercury is about communication, not only with the world and with your consciousness, but your unconscious self. So let's go ahead and see what that's all about. The Ten of Cups is in Mercury. Mercury, all the uncomfortableness that's happening right now is trying to push you into the highest reality possible, where you feel super happy, you feel super encouraged to be who you truly are. This is about really just embodying who you are. Not everyone's going to love it. You might not even like who you are as you start transforming into that higher vibration. But if you go in that direction, you know you have happiness waiting for you. And that's where the devil is, right? Oftentimes we have this mentality like, oh, you know, if I just keep watering this one plant, it's going to blossom eventually. But you've overwatered it so much and you know it's decaying. You know there's no saving it. But you still want to stay there hoping that if you keep watering that plant, it'll revitalize itself when it's long dead. That's the devil here, where that's basically just an old version of yourself that you're like, if I just keep trying to heal that person, if I just keep trying to develop that person, if I just keep waiting, things are going to change. That's not your option anymore. You can stay there if you want, but that's going to be the devil that's going to self-destruct you at the end of the day. It's time to make moves now, okay? Finally, we have the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords is a person who has a bunch of swords in their back, right? And that's a really scary kind of energy. It's almost like you've done something for such a long time and it just isn't giving you the payout that you're looking for. One of these ways that people are really starting to come into alignment with this higher form of energy is recognizing that they've applied a lot of their time manifesting money. They've applied a lot of their time trying to manifest something that isn't necessarily giving them fulfillment, right? It's not necessarily bringing them to the fullest vibrational state. How many more swords are you going to take? Do you need an 11th, a 12th, a 13th, 14th, 27th sword in your back before you decide to say, I deserve better? You are worthy now. It's time for you to go out and really claim the energy that you are so much worthy of. Finally, we have the energy of the Five of Swords that is coming up in Uranus with the energy of strength. Now, Five of Swords basically says that there's some sort of hardship. Like there's pain here, okay? Shifting is not going to be always easy. A lot of times people are like, I just want to shift and I just want things to be really magical and whatever and whatever. That's not the option that's going to be happening here. That's not saying that you have a negative energy. That's not saying that you're going to suffer. It just means that you're going to feel uncomfortable during the process. And uncomfortability manifests for different people in different ways. Sometimes uncomfortability is purging a lot of emotions through crying. Sometimes it's actually forcing yourself to be dedicated and true to your word. A lot of the vibration here is being authentic with yourself. And part of that authenticity is really holding yourself accountable to what you want to be. Okay, if you want to be a coach, you need to go out and start learning how to coach people. If you want to be a better coach because you've already been a coach, it's time for you to really start finding out how you can start manifesting that. Whether you start working with other coaches, you expand your circle, you start being a different person. It's time for you to embody the person that you know you're supposed to be, and that requires a lot of strength. Okay, so that does require you doing a little bit of shifting, a little bit of self-understanding, a little bit of self-dedication. Remember, you are the best manifestation that could ever exist. Just allow yourself to be that person. All right, so if you ended up picking up this deck, this is got a lot of juicy energy. We're going to start off in the very center, and then we're going to start breaking it down. We first have the energy of Antojai. Okay, so the Antojai card is in the format of both spiritual and physical. So there's three different versions of this card, and each one means something different. This one is basically saying you're learning how to balance the cravings of your life with the power of the gods. So basically what you're doing right now is you're sitting in this energy of understanding who you truly are, what you're really going after, and how that's going to impact the greater scope of your whole entire ecosystem. Now this can be really deep because you do have some poison that needs to be confronted and dealt with. The poison is different for each person, but you know what that poison is. If the poison has been surfacing about, old relationship styles that you've been having with people, it's time to clear out that poison. Okay, it's time for you to really allow yourself to open up to new possibilities and allow yourself to become the god or the goddess that you truly feel like you are. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to dive into Jupiter. Jupiter has to do with finances. It's only a matter of time. Now when the time card shows up as well, it's telling you that your finances are not directly associated at this time with the element of time. Time is an element. That's one of the things that I really want you to truly understand at this moment, okay? Time is an element that works against some of your manifestations. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm going to make $100,000 by the end of the year. Bam, that's it. We're not going to go anywhere out of that spectrum. Well, when you have that kind of mentality, you're putting time into the equation. So right now it's like, okay, I'm going to make $100,000 this year somehow. Do not give yourself the stipulation that you're going to make it at the end of the year or by the end of the year. Just say that you're just going to make it, right? And think of the instantaneousness of being able to make that money. Now, this applies with everything, not just money. It can be, like love. It can be whatever. But you need to understand where you're putting in time as an element that's keeping you further away from the payout that you're looking for, right? You don't want to keep adding time into the payout. One of the ways that you're going to bring in a lot of the abundance is through smiling or being happy or proving that you are staying in a positive mindset despite the poison that is surfacing as you shift deeper into the states of your life. Now we're going to go over to Mars. Mars is telling you that there's a lot of energy that's moving in the Akashic records. That means you might be having really lucid dreams or even synchronistic events that feel like you've lived them before in the past, like conversations or even, different kinds of intuitive knowings, right? Sometimes you're at a coffee shop and you're like, wait a minute, I feel like I've been here before. That's because you were surfing that reality ultimately through the Akashic records at another point in time, okay? Again, coming back to how time for you, particularly if you pick this deck, is collapsing. You are living multiple timelines right now at this current moment, and you're shifting very rapidly between them. So you need to understand that because you have a huge force of energy with that Gale energy coming through, you need to really stay focused on the things that you want, okay? And of course, as you stay focused on the things that you want, some self-destructive phases are going to happen that seem poisonous, but stay focused and happy on that task, because since you're beyond time right now, your anatomy right now is shifting through so many different variables. All you can do is hold on to the thing that you really want to exist as and let the universe take care of the rest. A lot of this has to do with surrender. And one of the things that I really want to bring up here is like when you want to embody your truest self, you need to first ask yourself, what is it that I want to be existing as? What do I authentically want to exist as? Oh, I want to exist as a person who runs retreats, you know, from my home to help people heal from PTSD, right? Like you can have that kind of energy, and then you have to surrender into that idea and surrender and be like, okay, how do I become this person? What do I need to do to become this person? Well, maybe you need to start just promoting the fact that you're going to be holding these types of retreats at your home, right? That surrender, when you ask, okay, what do I need to do next? And then it tells you and you just take action. A lot of this is going to be trust. And that's kind of like the poison that needs to be released right now, is like a lack of trust in like your intuitive prompts and a lack of trust in the cosmos guiding you in the direction that you want. Oftentimes shamans realize that like they were standing in their own way the whole entire time. They had to ask themselves what they really wanted. Then they asked the cosmos, how do they achieve that? The cosmos gave them a response, and then they took action and things just manifested. Now, if you do not focus on time, like, oh, okay, well, the cosmos told me that I had to like make a post about my retreat. I wonder how long it's going to take for people to come through. You don't want time involved in that. Just be like, okay, the cosmos told me to make a post. Let's do this. Leave the rest blank. Leave the rest open so that the more magic that is there can come into your life and really open up the doors for you. Coming down to the energy of Earth and Neptune, Earth comes down with the energy of dreaming, okay? So coming back to that kind of like previous message I gave you, you know, like you have to ask, you have to name it, right? You need to say, I want this. And then you're going to say, I'm going for it, it's mine, and ask the universe for guidance. That's part of being a lucid dreamer, or a dreamer in this current reality that has power over their reality. This is a lot of water energy as well, so you have to allow yourself to be in the flow so you can really bring out what you really love. Now, part of this is going to be helpful when it comes into the Neptune sector about reflection. Okay, so a lot of this has to do with like, let me reflect on who I am and who I've been even. It's not just always about who I am or where I'm going, it's who I've been. And like oftentimes you'll notice, okay, I have this character that I've always been, and I've slightly changed the character progressively, but I haven't made any drastic improvements to that character, and that's why I haven't made huge strides. This is a moment for you to really sit down and be like, okay, what is it that I truly want, right? And sometimes you'll realize during this time that there were manifestations that you were asking for. Those manifestations came true, and now you're just kind of like, ew, like I don't even want that manifestation anymore. And you might feel a little bit guilty. One of the things you need to really understand is that like if you're feeling guilty because you asked for a manifestation and it came through and now you're realizing that you don't want it, there's nothing to feel guilty about. That's part of being a creator, is being able to know, okay, I created this thing. It wasn't really what I wanted. Let me recreate actually something that I wanted. It's pivoting, right? It's looking at things from a different structure. Going over to Venus, which is the higher aspect of Neptune, which is also the lover of Mars, we have the energy of hope, and it's got a lot of heart energy here. So this energy is all about you just stepping into the highest state possible and opening up your heart to the possibilities of the unknown. Now, this is another one of those scary vibrations for people because they're just like, how can I open myself to something that I absolutely have no idea is going to happen? It's about feeling gratitude for the unknown. That's been one of the techniques that I personally use, is allowing myself to be like, okay, I'm grateful for the things that are going to come from the unmanifested. And by doing that kind of vibration and staying in that kind of energy, I really do realize that good things come from unknown places, because my perception on the unknown has changed from being the enemy to being my best friend. Coming over to Uranus. Uranus with change is reminding you that you have guardians right now. Your guardians, your loved ones, your ancestors, they're coming through right now to guide you. A lot of ancestral energy has been happening for a while for people to really step into this higher state of being and well-knowingness, not only for yourself, but for the people that came before you and even the people that are coming after you. You have to allow yourself to be in the highest state possible. Coming over to Saturn, Saturn has to do with our shadow. There's a lot of sorrow there that the world is going to be experiencing very shortly. The economy is crashing. Like there's all these different pieces that are spinning around in our heads. We have to absolutely let ourselves recognize that sorrow is an emotion that's going to travel through us. And if you're dealing with sorrow right now, as you're trying to find the happiness, your sorrow is the pain, okay? Is that poison, right? You need to allow yourself to recognize the sorrow is here. The sorrow is just asking to be acknowledged. The sorrow is an entity that is looking for your love. It's looking for your happiness, not to take it from you, but to actually share in it with you. And if you are somebody who's cosmically abundant, share your happiness with that sorrow, that entity, and be like, hey, like, we can both be happy together. By having that kind of mindset, that kind of energy, that addressingness to yourself, that's where you're going to open up a lot of these doors. That's where you're going to be able to really see the depths of who you are and what you're doing next. Coming over to the energies of Mercury. Mercury says, hey, it's time to release whatever has been holding you back. Communicate with yourself. Mercury is all about communication, and it's all about travel. It's all about making moves. So right now, if Mercury is saying, hey, it's time to release, it's time to address, it's trying to be real, that's what you need to do. And by doing that, you'll have the energy of the sun, which is the energy of Cerberus, which is the energy of wisdom. Release what you do not want to be, and you will become everything that you've always been. Finally, Pluto comes into play. Pluto has been affecting America for a hot minute because America is in its Pluto return. If you live in America, pay attention. If you don't live in America, still pay attention. We have the energy of the blade. And when the blade comes up, the blade is reminding us that we have the power to take action right now. We have the power to claim the things that we truly want to be embodying at every moment of every aspect of our lives. Grab the sword and just chop away at all the jungle. Grab the sword, go to war, and fight your demons. Allow yourself to be the divine warrior that you know you're supposed to be. That's what's going to open up the cravings of your life. That's what's going to allow you to really see the true potential of everything that you are. Right now, this is about you learning how to be a divine architect of everything that you want to be embodying in the coming weeks, the coming years, the coming future. You need to be that person now and stay happy in that vibration as you get tested with the vibrations of sorrow. If you avoid sorrow altogether, amazing. Good for you. You did the work prior, and that's why you're not dealing with the sorrow. If you're dealing with the sorrow right now, hey, it's okay. Love yourself. I love you. Everyone's going through something right now, okay? So do not beat yourself up, because if you do, you're going to miss out. All right, so if you ended up picking up this deck, one of the main energies here is the Ace of Wands, and that's the energy of claiming your magic, being a divine magician in your own universe. Now, you have a lot of energy in Mars, Earth, Neptune, and Mercury, which is a lot of like traveling, grounding yourself, being spiritually enlightened with the true messages that are coming in to your reality. So let's start off with these singular cards so we can understand a little bit more. We're going to start over with Jupiter, is what I'm feeling. So in Jupiter is basically saying the Three of Swords. If anything has happened most recently with finances, that's because you're still carrying a wound of abundance that is there, okay? You need to address that wound. You don't need to heal that wound. You just need to know that it's existing right there. And I have a very powerful message for you if you ended up picking this deck. If there's ever been a point in your life where you've been in a worst case scenario, like much more worse than where you've ever been, right? For me, you know, I've had money, and then I've also been homeless, right? Look back on that moment where you were homeless and look at where you are now. Look at all the strides and all the things that you've learned, and do not let the old version of you drag you down into that state of mind where you're like, oh my God, I'm living in the past, right? Look at the strides that you've made. Part of the shadow work is looking and being like, wow, I've done all this transformation and it's helped me so much. That's the main message that's coming up here. Now, when it comes up to Uranus, which has to do with change, we have the King of Cups, which the King of Cups is telling you that right now is about changing what you consider to be luxury, changing to be what you consider to be comfortable. A lot of this is recognizing, okay, you've been living a certain low vibrational state. Like you could have been blasting your volume at 10 and you've been playing it only at 2. Right now it's about blasting that volume. What is going to give you passion? What's going to take you to the next level to make you feel like you are doing everything that is necessary? When we come over to the energies of Venus, which has to do with love, we have the Queen of Cups, which is again reminding you to, you know, share your abundance, share the good things that you have. That can be material, that can be, you know, wisdom, that can be energetic. You know, if you have a goodness, a positivity, any form of positivity, big or small, you need to start holding that in your heart and carrying that forward. That's the main message here for you to really overcome some of the major blockages that are coming up, especially in the financial sector. When we come over to the energy of Saturn, we have the Six of Wands, which is amazing because you're walking away, you're rowing away from the old that has been causing you so much pain, right? This is probably the heaviest reading so far this week that has to do with shadow work. So a lot of this is more so taking naps, drinking lots of water, making sure you're eating a proper diet that's not going to counteract any of that shadow work that you're doing. This is going to be a little bit more hard hitting, but recognize that whatever it is that you're going through is only because you're reclaiming at this time your own personal power. You're reclaiming what you already have inherently known for such a long time, and now you're going to be embodying it once you go through this phase. Coming over to the energy of Pluto. Pluto comes out with the Justice card. This is something that you could not avoid. Now, the Justice card also is associated with like Ma'at, or like the scales of reality. And it's basically your heart being weighed against your thoughts, right? If your heart is fully in alignment with your thoughts, or your heart is fully in alignment with your soul, then things are going to become so much easier. And that's what people call soul purpose or their dharma. Your heart is telling you, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And sometimes that doesn't always make sense. It doesn't make sense linearly, at least. So you have to allow yourself to have this deep level of trust to open up those doorways. Mercury comes up telling you like there's been a lot of baggage with the Ten of Wands that you've been carrying, but now it's time to let that go. The Knight of Swords tells you to keep going at it, keep chipping away at any of the blockages that you have. Journaling right now is a super huge important thing for you. Whether you journal through video, or you journal through your phone, or on an actual physical notebook, writing down and getting as many ideas out of your mind is going to leave you to be an open vessel for the next messages and the next steps that you actually have to be taking. Now, we have the energy of the moon. The moon is basically your subconscious energy. It's trying to get you to understand something that you're still not fully grasping. And one of the main things is security. That's really coming up. Security is one of those vibrations that you kind of conceptually understand, but you don't really vibrate at it. And this is one of the reasons why this energy is presenting itself right now for you to have a massive shift. Coming over to the energies of Neptune, which is higher spiritual love, is the higher version of Venus. So anything that happens in Neptune is going to be like an extension of this Venus energy. We have the King of Pentacles, recognizing that you are abundance already, even if you're not seeing the abundance very much so in front of you. So you have to stay in this energy of like, you know what, everything's going to work out exactly the way I want it to work out whenever it needs to work out. Just stay in that energy. Just really stay in that energy. If you do, you're going to have the Six of Wands energy, which is pure success, right? Like if you just stay in your power, you're just gonna have pure success. But staying in your power through these shifts can be very challenging. So sometimes you're like, oh my God, I'm dealing with all the like this internal turmoil. How am I gonna maintain my regular life? This is all like super difficult. Don't worry about the regular world. Worry about the shift and getting through this shift as quickly as possible. The regular world, the material universe, is going to be waiting for you when you get out of that. And in fact, the faster you shift through this, the easier the material world is going to shift for you and with you. So then it says the Seven of Wands. Do not complicate this. Do not try to go against the grain. Do not try to solve this on your own. This is about tapping into your intuition, letting the things deep down in the unconscious, subconscious mind to surface forward for you so you can really embody more of who you are destined to be. Destiny exists, fate doesn't. Fate is saying that there's one linear reality that's going to get you to the end result. That means you have no movement. But right now, you're in the destiny state. You have one major objective to accomplish. There's so many different ways you can get there, easy or difficult. Right now, you need to let go of the difficulty because you've been grasping onto the difficulty for such a long time. We have the energy of the Five of Swords. This is probably going to be one of the most challenging things for you because you've been so conditioned to look at the difficulty and the resistance. Remember, resistance is self-created. Resistance is only there because of the fact that you are not being 100% transparent with yourself. We have the energy of the Empress coming up with Mars, which is again aligned with the energies of the Queen of Cups, which is Venus. The Empress is basically the energy of Venus itself, and then when it shows up in Mars, it's basically telling you that this is what Venus wants you to do. Venus controls this whole entire year. It's about love. The more you love your life, the more you love what you're doing, the more you're putting love out into the cosmos, the easier it is for you to manifest and create the things that you're looking for. So Mars is telling you, go towards the things that you love. Sometimes that's you sitting down and being really, 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 really honest with yourself about what you do love and what you don't love, and then taking action progressively from there. But that's the sword, the Ace of Swords, that you must claim. You must claim the weapon of love and move in that direction. By doing that and being completely like foolish with that full energy, living on the edge, you're going to see that there's so much excitement, so much adventure, so much blessings that you could never have added up on your own. It's about really trusting the process right now for you, shifting your internal reality while also giving into your internal reality. The Four of Cups basically says that the only thing that's going to really be a major issue for you is feeling comfortable. Remember, like right now, it's not about feeling comfortable. It's about movement, right? So like if you want to feel more vital and you're recommended by a professional to go to the doctors, if you're recommended by the doctors to basically go to the gym or go on a walk or something, right? You're gonna feel a little bit of tension when it comes to like feeling comfortable going on the first initial runs, walks, whatever, because it's outside of your normal program setting, right? But the more you do it, the more enjoyable it gets. You look forward to your walk. You look forward to going to the gym. You look forward to doing whatever it is that was recommended to you. And then that becomes a luxury in a way, even though it originally seemed like a major obstacle. So when we're coming over to the energies of Earth, which is the energy of grounding, the High Priestess shows up, which she's basically telling you, it's up to you. Do you want that life or do you not want that life? The Eight of Swords is saying that you've only been subscribing to the most obvious thing, which has been resistance. It's been difficulty, but that's not all that there is, and nobody's holding you hostage to that. You have kept yourself ransom to that. And Temperance, meaning it's going to take a little bit of time, patience, to understand what you've been going through and why you've been going through it. It's not about what you've been going through, it's why you've been going through it. And that could be because you haven't been authentic with yourself. That could be because it wasn't the right time for something to happen for you. Well, ultimately, it's time for you to become the great magician that you are, so you can really embody everything that you love about your life. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you for being here. Let me know which one of these really resonated with you, and I will catch you in our next episode.